Shake, shake, shake. We're on live. Woohoo! Let's rock and roll today. What are we talking about?
Happy Monday.
I know. Monday. My Monday is insane today, but guess what? I'm going to get it all done and it's going to be great. And we're going to talk about content today, right? Right, Jean? Your wheelhouse?
Absolutely. We're going to talk about content. So, creating content for social media. So let's take a step back. I always love to take a step back.
I know, that's like you're saying.
Like jump into like creating content, and then but then for the people who might not be familiar with this, like why are we creating content for social media? So Angela, do you want to start with what's the point of creating content for social media?
I think the whole point of creating content for social media is to build the know, like, and trust factor so people know that you're who you are, know that you exist, and know that you're a real brand with a real business and you're not a fly-by-night type of company. For me, that's what it's all about, is creating content. To be aware and to like show up and be consistent so people know that I'm a real brand and I'm consistent and I'm trustworthy and I'm not going to like close my doors in 2 months kind of thing.
Yes, and especially that's a big one now since businesses are starting to close their doors. So absolutely, this is a very good starting point. So business is all about relationships. Now, actually, I'm reading a book by Grant Cardone called Sell or Be Sold, and it's all about sales, but he gets into like the underlying reasons and the underlying foundations for sales. And he talks about that in his book where he's like, you're not in the course creation business, you're not in the plumbing business, you're not in the tech business, you are in the people business, because at the end of the day, everything is people based. Like a technology is not going to buy your stuff, like, or a plumb, like, a phone is not going to buy your stuff. Like, people are going to buy your stuff, right? So in order to create that connection with people, you have to engage with people, because at the end of the day, it's people who buy your stuff. They have money to buy your products and services. Okay, so that's the first thing, is that we forget that business, no matter what business you're in, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're doing, at the end of the day, business is about people. So make sure to remember that part first, okay? So in order to create a connection with people, you have to find where people are. Now it's a little bit harder to actually talk to people face to face because of the whole pandemic. So where are people hanging out? They're hanging out on their social media platforms. They are on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. They're hanging out online. They're hanging out on social media, probably most likely Google, probably hanging out there. So how do you find those people and interact with them to start creating a meaningful relationship, right? So you create content, you create something about your company, your brand, your message, whatever it might be, that you can post to your social media platforms where the conversations are happening, so that you can start having these conversations with people. These people potentially could be prospective clients, right? So both Angela and I have built our businesses on creating content for social media. Like, we have gotten, like, most of our clients have come from starting off with creating content, then taking that content and making that into a conversation, then taking that conversation and making it into a relationship, and then making that relationship into a paying customer. So we built our businesses on social media. Like, that's what we've done. And that's how it's done now. So that's my that's my little spiel about relationships and people.
It's interesting that you said that, Jean, because I was having a conversation with someone this morning about that very thing, about, because I love to write, and I do a lot of really intuitive long posts, just things that I'm thinking about. And truly, it's letting people see, even though I've built a thriving business and I've been online for 18 years, it's letting people see, really, it's not, oh, Angela does marketing. It's, oh, Angela's a real person. And I talk about things like fear and anxiety and things I struggle with, which I struggle with anxiety. So I discuss certain things like that, and I put it out there. And the whole concept, the whole reason that I'm sharing this is that, yes, you can post out about what you do, of course, but you really should, as you're building that relationship through your social media, talk about the things that are your clients' challenges and wants and desires, and be relatable. Like, I always say, what you put out, think about it like you would be sitting at Starbucks with someone having a conversation. Like, just, face to face, what would you be talking about? How would you interact? It's the same on social media. The way I interact is I'm like friendly. I also share this other thing. Like back in the day, years and years ago, I was a Mary Kay director. And I always would tell the girls, you don't like when you have someone come new into your neighborhood, you don't take your little red wagon and put all your Mary Kay crap in it and go knock on the door and say, hi, I'm Sally and I sell Mary Kay. Buy from me. No, you want to be a neighbor. You want to get to know them. You go knock on the door. Hey, I'm Sally. Here's a plate of cookies. Welcome to the neighborhood. You build a relationship. It's the same thing on social media. You don't like send a message to someone saying, hey, hey, buy my crap. No, you build the relationship in everything that you post. People are human. There's a human behind the other side of that computer.
Yes. So it's basically like sending somebody a virtual plate of cookies.
Yeah, really. It is. Oh, I like that. My favorite kind, just so you know, is chocolate chip. And I do like oatmeal raisin too, just so you know. If you want to send me a virtual plate,
Oatmeal raisin, chocolate chip.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to remember that.
That's why the pounds are on.
So like think of that interaction right there. Somebody comes into the neighborhood, you bake them a batch of cookies and you send them over, right? You're adding value, you're welcoming, you're inviting before you start putting your agenda ahead, right? So that's normal interaction, right? Like that's human interaction for millennia. It's been going on before social media. That's how we interact with people, right? We don't go there and we say, hey, I'm selling my Mary Kay crap. Here's some lipstick or whatever. Like we bring them a plate of cookies and we add value and we invite them, right? To be an acquaintance.
And I want to share something else that Gina and I we actually had a really amazing conversation this morning on a podcast episode, one of ours, with this incredible woman. Her name is Stephanie.
Stephanie Burns.
Yes. And she is a contributor to Forbes. So she's, really brilliant. And she was saying that she gets pitched at least 30 times a day, like literally. And her whole thing is, people are all about themselves. They don't ask her, how can I bring value to you? Like, how can I give value to you, right? So I really want you to keep that in mind. And that's straight out of the horse's mouth as someone that's a contributor to Forbes. So if you're going to be, putting your social media content out there, how can you give value to your readers, right? And if you're ever pitching the media, how can you give value? It's not just about you. Yes, we all love you, but it's about the people that you're serving. Always serve first and then the money will come.
Yep, absolutely. So taking that whole concept and then applying it to social media. So you want to start that conversation with your audiences and yes, create something engaging, like ask a question, start a conversation, talk about your experiences, because people want to hear that. Share a story. Like that's what people want to hear. It's like you're sitting in a Starbucks, or I always make that the analogy of like you're at a cocktail party. Back in the day when we had cocktail parties, not anymore, but back in the day when we had cocktail parties, long time ago, like you would meet a person and you would start a conversation with them. You're not going to start selling them. You're not going to be like, hey, I'm a digital marketer, do you want to buy my stuff? You're like, no, you start a conversation, you get to know each other, and then you weave potentially that that point into the conversation, right? It's the same thing. I always talk about the analogy of the cocktail party. So same thing, right? You want to start a conversation, create engaging content, ask a question, add value, provide a how-to tip or something like that, and then get engagement with users. That's what we've been doing over the last, I don't know, however many, 10. You've been doing it for 18 years. I've been doing it for like
12, right?
years or something, 7 years since I've had my business. So, so that's basically how you would want to start creating content, engaging content for your social media.
Awesome. Very cool. So my question for you is to ask yourself, one, is your content engaging on social media? And two, then comes the second factor, which is, are you consistently posting your content out on social media, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important.
Consistency, yes, is so important. Again, and as you mentioned, like you're not a fly-by-night brand. You are actually a real brand that adds value, that's always showing up to and serving your community. That's what we're doing here. Like we're we're not getting paid for this. Okay. We're just serving our community because that's what we want to do. And we want to help women entrepreneurs in our group, which is Digital Marketing and Tech for Women Entrepreneurs. And if you have not seen our group or are familiar with our group, join our group here. Just go to punchinwedm.group, right? So we do this like, it's not like nobody's paying us to do Facebook Lives, right? Like
yeah, and so I think that's really important when we talk about consistency, and let's talk about that. So for example, Jean brought up a good point. We show up here Monday through Friday, every single day at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And at the end of the day, there's days like today for both of us is extremely busy. We've got a lot on our plate. We've got a lot of things going on, but we still show up and we share and we give value to you because we care and we want you to get the support that you need. So that's what I will share with you, that if there's times, you're like, well, I just can't today. Well, let me just ask you this question. If you can't today, then it's kind of like when you go on a diet or eating healthy or whatever. If you don't stick to something, you're never going to manifest the results. So it's the same kind of thing. You just have to be mindful that if you're going to do something like social media and show up every day so people know that you're there and you want to sell and be a digital brand or have part of your company be digital and out there, then you just have to have that as either part of your schedule or you hire it out to someone. It's like we were on Tea with Gary Vee, June 29th, I think it was. And he said, social media is the cost of doing business now. It's like part of your business. You have to do social media. It's just a cost. If you're brick and mortar, renting a building or owning a building or whatever, it's the same kind of thing. So I really want you to think about it in those terms. It's like the electric. You have to have social media. So if you have to have it, show up, be consistent, and then watch your business grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and like I said, we've grown our businesses on the foundations of engaging on social media. I mean, Absolutely. We've got a ton of clients just by doing this, showing up, adding value, and creating content. So this is our topic for the day: is add value, create content, be consistent, post to social media, and that's the first step, right? I'm not saying that yes, immediately that today, if you start posting, you've never done it before, that you're going to start getting massive clients. No, it takes time. It takes people to know, and trust you. It's not going to be overnight. And I want to be real about it because one of the things that we're doing here in our group and on this Facebook Live and just in general as part of our brand is that we're being real as entrepreneurs. There's a lot of crap out there on Facebook and on other platforms that are all about, this is how I made $300,000. This is how I made $10,000 a day. It's yeah, that's awesome, but it's not real. Okay. It's one person who's done it and he never or she never talks about the backstory of how this all happened. Probably because they failed many, many, many times before they started making $10,000 a day. Okay. So we want to also be real about that. Yes, you start now and it's going to take time. So don't expect that tomorrow you're going to have a ton of clients who are going to start paying you money. It's they need to learn about you. They need to get to know you, and trust you over time. And that takes time. Relationships take time. You're not going to get married tomorrow if you meet somebody today, right? That's not going to happen. And if it does, that's probably not a good decision.
Exactly.
So.
Awesome. Okay, well, everyone, I am so grateful that you showed up today to watch us. We're so excited about our lives. We've been doing them now for a while. We enjoy them. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to post in the comments below. We'll answer them. And if you're not part of our group, please join our group at wedm.group. So we will see you tomorrow, same time, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, and we'll see you then.